Laura, after the Houston match, for those who did not see the presser or were not there, like us, yeah, we need to get you one of those. See if
I
we can get
do
you one of those and have you have it
just
on the
to
show.
just to hold up during the podcast whenever we talk about her.
Like
Terrific.
with
Someone please tell me how I can get
we'll
this.
we'll try to find the people for this. Uh after the I don't remember if the question was about Claudia because Laura like has a tendency to
I don't think
get
it
asked
was.
about one thing and then talk no, that's right. Because I was like, I didn't expect this. Um
Actually, no, maybe Nico did ask about Claudia.
Maybe. I might poke around and see the otter while we do this. But
Laura went on a lot of tangents, so
she did. She can kind of do that. And at
if she
least
has
she's like
something she wants to say, she's gonna fit it in.
she's gonna say it. Doesn't matter what you ask, really.
Yeah.
Um she had very high praise for Claudia Dickey, which I don't think is, unwarranted praise, right?
Mhm.
But she basically, and I'll get the thing, and Bella can correct me, which she does often, which is not unwarranted either.
Mhm.
About she made the case for Claudia to be the U.S. Women's National Team goalkeeper.
Or at
Um,
least be called into camp.
or yes, called into camp as well. I'll get this, but I'll get the official one, and I can get the verbatim. But
And I
uh
can just start blabbing.
yeah, just what do you think about that? Because we go from you know one player in Fallon Joyce, who the kind of mystery around that, and the weird situation there, who now has gone on and has, played for the US, and is having a great career. I mean, I don't think anyone has any reason in the Reign fan base or us to not like Fallon. Like she was great, right? And so I love seeing the success she's well, maybe not because she's at Man United. Like the Arsenal blood runs very heavily. Laura would agree.
Yeah, I will root
So
for
would
any
Kim
team
Little.
that has a player I like on it. I have no loyalty in the English league whatsoever.
So you go from that, and then people like Claudia Dickey, why, right? And it, you just watch her in some of these moments, and you say, all right, she saved her ass.
Yeah.
Um, there were the rough moments last year. You talk about largely, I mean, again, and largely, it's correct, but and she had a injury stint last year where Laurel Ivory had to come in, and I know that had to be frustrating. But yeah, I mean, your thoughts on I guess what you remember from that rant and rant. I'm sorry, I keep saying that from that chunk of words, and I
Hmm.
don't know if you agree or not because I mean I know you do more than just rain in terms of the football. So I will look at this, but
I
yeah.
definitely do agree with Laura. I think I talked about it when we did the episode when she was called into U.S. Women's National Team camp. Um, I think last year the defense in front of her was not very good, and it made her look bad. She would come up with a couple brilliant saves, and other times she'd kind of be sold down the river and
Mm,
not have really have a chance. And I think this year has given her the opportunity to show that even if she's not making 10 saves a game, she can come up with that one big save when her team needs it, even if they've been defensively solid the rest of the time. And Laura brought up that one of the sort of knocks on her, quote unquote, in the past had been that she didn't make the big saves. But at the same time, there weren't really big saves to make because they weren't super in games. Like it wasn't like she was the reason they lost. Um, and I think, the North Carolina game in particular stands out to me just because of the sheer number of saves she made at the end of that game
yeah.
to truly like she is truly the reason they won that game. At the end there, they had so many chances to score, and those were not easy saves. Like against Kansas City, she was talking about how most of the chances just rolled to her and she didn't really have to do anything. But other games, she has really had to stand on her head. I think Portland, she made a couple really good saves too. Like I think she's a very talented shot stopper, and she's also much better with her feet than a lot of other goalkeepers are. I think she has that going for her. That's a reason why it's part of the reason why people like Mandy Hott in that position is because of her sort of her long ball ability. Um, but I think that the U.S. is a team that really likes to build, through their defense into their offense. Um, and Claudia is a great goalkeeper for that. As much as I love Fallon, like that is the thing she struggled with. She wasn't quite as good at finding feet with her passes, um, or making the right move in those moments. And I think Claudia is so solid with her feet, that it's really a massive benefit. In addition to what is an incredible goalkeeping ability. And she, I had asked her after the Kansas City game, even though she didn't make a ton of massive saves in that game, if she was feeling more confident this year, because she didn't have to deal with that injury. And, she talked about just, sort of putting in a lot of work with the defense and everyone wanting to be better, and her confidence almost coming from the people in front of her, like knowing that they have confidence in her and that she has confidence in them, and being able to trust each other, which I think is something that they didn't always have last year as much as they tried. When someone scores, it's easy to sort of lose that trust. And um, I think the talent has always been there for her, but the way the team has performed this year has allowed it to be much more outwardly visible than it was in the past. I still thought she was fantastic last year. Like, would I have immediately thought of calling her up to the U.S. Women's National Team? Probably not. But again, that's because of like you're looking at the results and you're losing by multiple goals, and it's like you're tempted to say that's on the goalkeeper, but it's not. It was not on Claudia, and I think she this year, being healthy and having the time to work with her defense and find her own confidence, she has been outstanding. I mean, like absolutely outstanding. I can't say enough good things about how important she has been this year, and I think will continue to be throughout the season.
It has been really interesting to see her evolution, here in Seattle. Because I mean, you got to give credit to, I think, both the Reign for um, being able to find these players, right? I mean, I'm specifically talking about the last two keepers and Fallon and Claudia, but to identify that player and then to work with the talent that they have and develop them into what they are, right? I mean, both sides of that is critical. Um, to watch both of their journeys again, I think I remember telling you, um, when they acquired Fallon at some point during my first year covering the club, and I was like, "Who is this kid from New York? Like got a long name. Like, what
Yeah,
is this?"
it was when Vlatko was still the coach, right? Or was it Farid?
I think it was Farid. That was the first coach I was ever like around.
Yeah, because I guess he was there. He was the coach for the Challenge Cup, the original Challenge Cup.
Yes,
Right, because Vlatko left in 2019 after the 2019 World Cup. Sorry, that was me just like trying to remember my history, because so funny that just funny to me that the coaches of the Reign have been pretty much Laura Harvey, Vlatko, Laura Harvey. Farid doesn't exist in this.
no,
I think he
and
only coached
for
half of a regular season before they like got rid of him. Like he coached
something
the
like
Challenge
that,
Cup, and then they came back the next regular season. Yeah, because it was the middle of 2021 after the Olympics where they're like, Laura, come back. So yeah, he coached like less than half of a regular season.
I remember I was working a Mariners game at the time, and I was watching the match on my phone, which technically I shouldn't have been doing, but now I do this for a living, so it doesn't matter, I guess. And I remember, I think it was before the match, seeing actually that they had dismissed him, and it was Sam, I think, as the
Yeah,
interim.
we
Anyway,
love Sam.
but you get what I'm saying, right? I
Wait,
remember
sorry,
seeing
can I
this.
mention real quick? Have you seen the clip of how he got the red card in the Angel City game? Because if you
I think
haven't,
we
it's my
both, you and
favorite
I
thing.
both saw it.
But did you
So
see the one like the NWSL on the NWSL broadcast? They showed the actual footage of him fully running out onto the field, not just a picture. Like how far he ran out into the center circle.
I need to watch that. All
I
right,
think they showed it on the Prime broadcast last weekend.
I will have to go back and watch that. Is he back or no?
I think he served his suspension this weekend. So he should be back next week.
God bless Sam Lady. Um, quick other Sam note. I remember you and we were at the Club America friendly at Starfire, in a tiny press box at Starfire. Who was sitting in the fan seating right in front of us? Sam Lady. I was like, what the fuck? He turned around because that last section is like pretty much level almost. And he's just like kind of looking back in there. I'm like, can you see through the like can you see? It was very weird.
I mean, he was Laura's
Um,
assistant for like 7 years before she went to Utah. No, seven is too many. Five.
I mean,
He was her assistant for a long time.
just the fact though that he was right in front of the press box, I thought was the funniest thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, to go from Fallon to someone I didn't know who she was coming out of New York, and then it was Buati at the time. That was an experience for sure. Um, and then
I
Claudia, who I
forgot about
knew
that.
that yeah, I knew like following with because they drafted Claudia, if I remember
They drafted
correctly.
Claudia. They signed Fallon from the French league.
Yes. So, for them to do that, um, it says a lot about what they've been able to do, even with different goalkeeper coaches. I know they've changed. I know it's Lloyd now, right? So, um, I can give you it's a long chunk, but I'll try to get the best parts of what Laura said here. Um, she kind of started off with, yeah, she was asked about expanding on Claudia's performance. I honestly think Claudia has been, if not the best goalkeeper in the league this season. I could be getting this wrong because Otter doesn't always get it right. She said she's definitely up there. Sure, I'm biased. God bless Laura, but she has grown a lot. She's matured a lot. Me and her had a really good conversation after the Angel City match. Went and watched. Oh yeah, because Laura went and watched the U.S. national team train, and she came back and said, "There's no way you shouldn't be in that camp." Um, and this was kind of interesting. She says the reasons you're not in it is it's the things that you can change and it's in your control. So basically like kind of motivating, right? Um Laura goes, it's I'm not picking the team. It's not my job. Yeah, Laura, we know. She's so funny. But I think that if she goes on, she continues on the trajectory that she's on. I believe she's got every single tool to be able to be this country's not so. Initially, there she says just to make it, but then she
Mhm.
goes on to say every tool to be this country's number one goalkeeper. I think the ceiling for her is still really high. She's very young, loads of ceiling. What she's shown in this year is consistency in performances. I would agree with that. I don't think Laura cares if I agree, but yeah. You mentioned the big saves. Um, so you know, yeah, I mean, both in hockey with like these guys, in hockey and in soccer, I know that one of the big things about like a great a net goalkeeper, goalie, is if they can make the big saves. And
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah,
I mean
no, I
that's
mean,
why Alyssa Nair was the number one for a while, right? Is because she would face
Unk.
no shots the entire game and then save a penalty. Like something that's incredibly tough to do. And I think part of Laura's point is that the goalkeeper, because Nair retired from international duty, the goalkeeper position is so wide open. And not only is Claudia talented, but it would benefit the US to get her into camp even before you maybe think that she can be the number one.
Mm,
Because her ceiling is still so high, you want her training in that environment. You want her training with your players in your system. And to do, it's sort of the same reason why we saw Alyssa Thompson and Giselle Thompson called into the U.S. Women's National Team and then not get called back in for a while because it was like, all right, we want to like see how these young players do in our system. Okay, maybe they're not quite ready yet, but now we can like tell them what they need to do, or they can have a better idea of what they need to do, and they can get an idea of the system. Like, it's the same reason they have the futures camp is because
mm,
you want to evaluate, you want to see how those players are, and I think that Claudia absolutely deserves that chance. I don't think there's any, I agree with Laura. I don't think there's any goalkeeper that has been, notably better than her. At least that is an American goalkeeper. Um, I think there are, some other goalkeepers of other nationalities that have been very good. but obviously they can't be on the U.S. women's national team. So, like I think that the position should be wide open, and the performances that Claudia has put on this season should make her near the top of the list to be called into camp again. And I don't, maybe Laura knows that Claudia hasn't been called into the upcoming camp, and that's why she was like making a comment about it.
Oh, here's your pitch. Okay.
But
Yeah.
well, no, I mean, like they usually know if they've been called in ahead of time. So it's possible that Laura knows that Claudia wasn't called in and is salty about it, and that's why she talks about it.
Pissed. Yeah, not like pitching
But
to people, but rather
or it
pissed
could
about
just
it.
be like, or it could be her pitch ahead of knowing the roster. I have no way of knowing. Laura, let me know. Um,
Laura,
but
hello.
um, but I think she absolutely should get the call up. I think she absolutely deserves it. Um, and if you want to see what a wonderful, like, sweet, funny person she is, go check out our Players and Puppies video with her.
I should find a clip and just put it in right here. We'll see. Um, I'm sorry. Anytime I think about that episode, I think about Laurel Ivory telling a bee to lock
Lock
in.
in.
Lock in. God bless Laurel.
All time favorite.
It was cool to see her on the pitch for the Kansas City match. I know she didn't get in. I think there was excitement in one of the during that match. Sorry, very brief look back at that match.
Mhm.
Kansas City was making a change, and one of the PR folks was like, I think it was 85. It's like 85. It's Laurel, and I'm like, that isn't. They're not changing goalies
Yeah,
right now.
I doubt it.
I think we just wanted to see Laurel, which is fair.
Yeah.
So her only flaw is that she supports Boston teams. It's just, we can't all be perfect.
Well, and that she no longer plays for Seattle, but we will forgive that because
That's
we love her and she's wonderful.
yes, agreed with Bella again.
And the dog in that video, Otter, is available for adoption still. If you go ahead and watch that video and think he's really cute like they did, because he is very cute. Big muscle man, favorite boy.
God bless him. Yeah, that's right. Okay, now I remember him. Jesus. Um,
The one that was small but all muscles.
he was a thick boy.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go into.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch all the away games for Seattle Reign FC this year?
Away games. Well, since Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See y'all here.